Vol'n podcast on the Field of 68 Network. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Field of 68 Network, Big Vol'n, and we're going to throw it back to number 34, Jeronne Maymon, one part of the Bruise Brothers, but the older statesman of the Bruise Brothers, Jeronne Maymon. It went, hey, we can't talk March in Tennessee basketball without the senior leader himself off of Sweet 16 back in the day under Coach Konzo Martin, where you guys shocked everybody. But first, Jeronne, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, man. Blessed. Happy to be here.
Yeah, well, you're great. I always give special love to everybody that returns my texts, tweets, whatever it is, the quickest. And you're one of them. You're up there with Kevin Punt. Appreciate you guys getting back to me.
I got to, man. You know, got to pay respects to those who came before me. You know, I appreciate you for reaching out.
No, thanks, man. You all my listeners, I get humbled, man. You guys might think I'm like Mr. Tennessee basketball, but I get ghosted. I just all these guys, yeah. All you got to do is say I don't feel like coming on, you know. So I'm gonna have to call those guys out eventually, but it's all good.
Most definitely.
Yeah. No, you're great to come on. Appreciate you. Everybody's extremely proud of you. So as we head into March, we got to go look at y'all's run you had. But what, like right now as it relates to this year's Tennessee team, everybody's like, forget our hopes and dreams. We can't make a big run. They're struggling too much. But, Jeronne, you got to remind people, take us back to that regular season you guys had when there were so many expectations, but it was a bumpy ride. What do you remember about that season?
I think, when you have a roster that's packed full of talent, you get your hopes up and you kind of fantasize a little bit about the destination where they can end up. But we often forget as fans what all goes into a team becoming a team at the right moment. And I think, a lot of things can play very small, pertinent details that may be left out of some teams why they didn't reach their goals. And then you find out later, okay, some guys, they just weren't able to mesh together or some personalities that clashed. And so I think we, as fans, we fantasize about most teams when we see the rosters, but we kind of lose sight of the big picture that these guys are progressing. And I think Tennessee is right on time where they are. Granted, they struggled a lot this year, especially the last few games. But, them having a roster that's packed full of talent, I think those guys can turn it on at any time. And I think, the SEC tournament will be a good time for them to show out.
Yeah, we got to remind people the talent you guys had, because I remember watching as a fan, and it was like, all right, you believe in Konzo Martin's, mentality, his toughness approach, the defense, but you also you couldn't hide from the fact that they had yourself as a redshirt senior, Jarnell Stokes, who was an NBA draft prospect, Jordan McCray, who was balling. Now, Josh Richardson hadn't exploded yet, but he was getting there. So you guys had a lot of talent, and y'all were just, y'all were the bubble team.
Man.
And I remember this guy. This is the only role player from an opposing team from back in 2014 I'll ever remember. But Antoine Space, you remember that name?
I remember
Texas A&M. Texas A&M was not good that year, and you guys got swept by A&M, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is a wasted season. What do you recall about sort of the low point of that regular season where maybe you guys, because you did rally? We'll get to the tournament run in a second, but you won 5 out of your last 6 to get yourselves in contention to be in the tournament. What turned everything around?
I think it was a big part of the collective of all the guys that you mentioned just coming together and making a stand. I think we all did it individually, and then we did it collectively. I think it was a big part of what Coach Martin had influenced us as far as his mindset and his mentality about the game. Granted, we were struggling because, like I said, we have a lot of different things that kind of makes a team, and we were still trying to figure it out when we were running into teams who we should beat, and granted, we were thinking, and granted, I'm not saying all players, but some players, you go out to a game, you see a team who may have a subpar record or a record below yours, and you feel like you can just out-talent those guys, and without paying attention to the details of the scouting report and the execution of even our offense. And so we struggled with that at times. So our self-identity kind of swayed between, what coach was speaking and then kind of what we were, the kind of element we was putting out on the floor. It was kind of two different things. Coach was here and we was here. Until we came together, it was hard for us. And you saw that on the floor. Like you said, we lost to A&M twice, and one time I think it was in double overtime or one of those games. And it was like, close games, we got to win those. But we were, like I said, we were here until we got here. We figured it out eventually, but it took us to do it individually first and then collectively. I think that was a big part of it, the last part of the season.
It's that time of the year again, folks. Conference tournaments are tipping off. Bowl teams are making their final push for a bid while the best teams in the country are gearing up for a deep run. Auto bids will be punched, slippers will be fit, and our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, are putting my listeners at the center of the action. If you bet $4 on an underdog in a select game this week and that underdog wins, you win $256. That's right, $256. Here's how it works. Download the app now and use the promo code FIELD68 when you sign up. Scroll through the list of select underdogs, bet $4 on them to win, and cash $256 when they do. There's no better way for you to put your college hoops knowledge to use than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable, and you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. So remember, that's code FIELD68, that's FIELD68, to turn $4 into $256. For a limited time only, must be 21 years or older. Restrictions apply. Go to DraftKings.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And at 21-11, you felt like, at least I did, that you were safely in the field, maybe a 9-10 seed.
No, we never felt like that. We never.
Yeah.
Look, the whole thing with the whole year, we was like, we got to make it to the tournament because the year prior we were supposed to be in and we didn't get in, right? And so we felt the way. But I know I did. I took it. I'm like, wow, the disrespect was real because I thought we had kind of at least earned the right to for the play-in game, that type of thing, the year prior, and we didn't get that. And then my senior year, obviously. I'm not the same player. I'm not the same guy, but my mind is the same. I'm sharper here. And so I took it upon myself to make sure I communicated with the guys differently because they're all different guys. All the guys that you mentioned in that starting lineup, they receive communication differently. I can't yell at Jordy like I can yell at Jarnell. I can't talk to Jarnell like I can talk to Josh. And so I had to come to that understanding, okay, this is what it's going to take for us to get over this hump. And then
that's a great point, though. I forgot about the disappointment the year before where you guys went to the NIT and fans remember, remember, you lost to MTSU in the NIT, but it's like,
at home.
In fairness, though, it was also the hangover effect of like, man, we thought we should be in. But what do you remember about Selection Sunday? Were y'all together as a group? Because, man, that Tennessee name did not pop up that quick.
We was in the Ray Mears room. I believe we was in the Ray Mears room, or we were downstairs, right next to TBA,
where the donors go at halftime.
We were in that room and we were going over it and we were waiting and we didn't hear it. And then once we didn't hear it, damn, NIT, and then that crushed me for real. I'm like, NIT is a good tournament. I'm not knocking the NIT.
Oh, you got to knock it. Good props to the NIT, but hell no, man. This is your senior year. You're on the bubble.
No.
I cannot imagine. Look, I went to the tournament twice, and Selection Sunday, even when we knew we were in, it was still nerve-wracking. I can't imagine when you really don't know if you're in or out.
Man, we were all on the edge of our seats. Granted, our emotions were so high during the whole time because we got in. We did enough. And then when we didn't, deflated air balloon. When it go out, you hear the noise all over the room. Killed us. I don't even think much was said. I think coach said, NIT, he gave us one or two seeds. We're gonna host it. I think all that went here and out there, out of everybody's ear. And some guys were, one more chance to lace them up. that mindset. Then some guys, man.
Yeah, which might be, for one season might be okay, but when you're preparing yourself, wait, are we about to hear that for the second time in a row?
Yeah.
But so 2013, 14, I don't, they'll go to commercial break sometimes. I don't know which segment of the show, but when you saw that name Tennessee pop up in the play-in game, the 11, I mean, at that point you don't care where you are, you're just glad to be in. But what was that room like when Tennessee popped up on CBS's screen?
I ain't gonna lie, man. It was you know the feeling you get when you step outside, you catch that first chill, or you get in the bed and the sheets is cold and you put that cover over, you just whoosh. That's what it felt. From top of the head to the sole of my feet, I felt it go through me, and I just knew whoever we saw was gonna be in trouble because they obviously don't respect what we doing. You know what I mean? Or they don't respect how we doing it. And granted, I know we had lost some games that year, but they had Missouri a shoe-in, and we beat Missouri 45-72 on senior night at the crib. And, this the year they had Lawrence Bowers, Phil Presley, and these guys. So it's like they had them shoe-in. We just beat them 45-72, knocked them off. And so we felt really good about whoever was seeing us at that time because, like I said, when we got that engine running, we got Jordy engine running, Darnell engine running, and even the guys that was coming off the bench, and from the last guy that wasn't even seeing the floor, his engine running. And so I thought that whoever we saw at that point at a particular time was going to be in trouble. And you seen, like, Iowa was a really good team that year, really good. They had a lot of good prospects. I think one of them ended up sticking in the pros. But when we got to that arena, and we saw what we had to do because we had to go through a gauntlet to even get in. Like, the play-in game ain't no joke, and then we still had to see other teams after that. So I think we took it personal, and then we just collectively came together. It was really like a beautiful time to be a Tennessee Vol.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a perfect storm because the ultimate disrespect and disappointment is if your name doesn't get called at all. But the fact that they put you in the play-in game, you're like, all right, we're in. I'm excited to play. Like you said, butterflies going through you, but at the same time, they're like, yeah, it's the disrespect card of, hey, you weren't good enough to get in the real field of 64, but maybe we'll
play your way in.
Play your way in. Let me ask you this though, because you were there. It was an awkward time for Tennessee basketball, just awkward because you transfer and play for Bruce Pearl. That year he gets in trouble with the NCAA, the barbecue that everybody knows about, all that stuff. You guys lose to Michigan, and he's let go shortly after that, and Cuonzo Martin comes in. But there was still the fan that I always thought got overblown, but the petition that was out there. But the administration at the time was not outspoken in their support for Coach Martin either. So the fact that you guys did get in the tournament, was it sort of a unspoken motivation as well? Like, man, they don't believe in us. A lot of our fans don't even believe in our own coach. Now, in fairness to the fans, they were still packing in 20,000 in Thompson Ball Arena, so a lot of them were showing up. But there was doubt on you guys. There was doubt on the coach. Was there any talks amongst the team that way with coach, or was it just kind of an elephant in the room that you guys knew what was part of that motivation?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I'll never do is go against Vol Nation, because Vol Nation, regardless, good, bad, or indifference, they Vol Nation, and I love them. So
they might be frustrated, but they're going to show up frustrated.
For sure. They're going to show up pissed, and they're going to leave pissed too. So whatever the case is, you got to love Vol Nation. But no, I wouldn't say it wasn't spoken or unspoken. We kind of just – because we feel like, it's not really coach's fault that we weren't able to, kind of mesh and sustain that level. Because granted, we showed sparks of greatness throughout the season against certain teams. And so, granted, he's the head of the organization. We understand that, but we're the players on the floor putting out the product. And I think it was more so a conversation amongst us rather than the whole team, individuals on the team, like, oh, they don't believe in, because we heard, obviously we're playing for the man, and they got a petition out for his head, right? And so if we plan for him, we obviously believe in him, right? And so if I believe in this man and y'all don't, that's an indictment against me as well. And so we took it personal, and we wanted to make sure we had coach's back, because what coach does off the cameras, that's not said in the media and things of that nature, no one knows about. And you know what I'm saying? So for him to, you know, them to put a petition out, and like you said, the organization, the figureheads wasn't outspoken or backing coach when stuff like that happens. So we kind of figured like, okay, it really is us against everybody else. And so I guess that mentality kind of helped propel us to do what we did in the manner that we did it in.
See, that to me, that's such a hidden key to y'all's memorable run, is because I played on a team where, you know, the locker room was divided a little bit, but that was because some of the players didn't believe in the coach. And that was never the case with you guys. It was just, hey, this is a team that's struggling, but you never felt like, oh, that's because coach isn't doing this right. Or one guy's thinking about transferring or whatever. It was just, hey, we win together, lose together. And the fact that y'all did stick together and weren't questioning the coaching staff made all the difference in the world. But we're going to jump into it now. So you guys get in the play-in game as the 11th seed. You beat Iowa in overtime. So, again, 2 instances where your run almost didn't happen. You almost didn't even get in the damn thing. Yeah. And then you almost didn't win the play-in game, but almost doesn't count, man. Y'all got it done. And you take the next round. You beat UMass. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, Tennessee beats UMass. You know, that'll be fun. At least we get to play Duke, and that'll be nice to say you played Duke in the tournament. But the Cinderella story, Mercer knocks off Duke. And I don't recall if that happened before your game or after. Do you remember watching that game?
It happened after, because because granted, this is the year that Duke had Jabari Parker and those boys. Yeah. And so we was up for that game. We was ready. We was literally planning to play Duke. You know, obviously we gotta give Mercer his just due. We weren't counting them out, but
at that point, when you guys were playing for a Sweet 16 as competitors, I don't want to take anything away from you guys, because to a degree, like, fans might want to play the lesser opponent, but as competitors, you're like, man, bring on Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, I don't care. We're going for anything.
We actually want that, because think about it. As an athlete, I'm only talking as an athlete. Yeah. You want to play the guys that's always – that people are – the ESPN analysts, they're talking about these guys. Come bring them in my backyard. I want to see how it match up. If you a competitor, that's how you view it. And so I was ready for Duke. I was really like – licking my chops, waiting on them. But then Mercer show up and show out. So now we got to go back to the drawing board, because this is a different type of game than it would have been for Duke. So my mindset had to shift. I'm like, Jabari a bucket. Now we going on Mercer, who plays team basketball, who moves that thing and makes timely shots. We had to shift gears. And so I think that's what kind of threw us off, because we're like, Mercer, they just beat Duke? Everybody's scratching their head, because they're like, how they do it? How they pull it off? And then now they looking like, okay, maybe Mercer's the team that's supposed to keep this thing going. Because, you know, they had who they have? They had some really nice guard plays. That they some older guards that were really good with the ball, really crafty, nice shooters. But I just don't think that we were just too ready to play basketball, man. I think it was a wrap for anybody that came in front of us. And I can't wait till we talk about this Michigan game. I'm so ready.
Yeah. I know. I'm trying to help you out, look on my phone, find that Mercer opponent. But anyway, our Ball Nation doesn't care who those guards were. They just know that they got beat. And that's another thing that can get in your head, though, is like, you're like, all right, we're a game away from the Sweet 16. The last thing I want to do is lose to a dang Mercer. You know, I don't care.
Right.
But there's a brand thing there too, where you're like, all right, we got it.
That was a good game too, though. They played us well too. They played us well.
Yeah, he was well coached. Coach Hoffman, I believe, and since retired. But so y'all get that Sweet 16. It's revenge, redemption, whatever you want to call it. You're one of the biggest stories in all of March Madness. And yeah, John Beilein in Michigan, who just a few years before you were on the bench, you didn't play as much, but Michigan had smacked Tennessee, and so that you were the only one on that roster that actually lived.
Yeah, no. I think Jordy was on that roster too.
That's right, Jordan. Yeah,
me and Jordy, because I remember that game. Michigan probably beat us by like 30.
Yeah,
that year, and right after that game, Coach Pearl got fired, which was crazy. Like the series of events.
That was a stressful few months there.
Dane, listen to the build-up, man. Listen to the build-up. We're on the bus. We're leaving the hotel. We're on the bus going to the game. You know how they play. They have those little TVs on those buses.
Now you're talking the Bruce Pearl. You're talking about the Michigan game from your freshman sophomore.
Yeah. Leading up to that game. So we're leaving the bus. We're on the bus. You know, they played the little ESPN. I don't know why we were playing ESPN, because normally there's either a video in or the TV's off, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, they're playing ESPN. They must have knew. The coaching staff must have knew, because none of the coaches, I think only like 2 or 3 coaches were on the bus. Everybody else, the other coaches met us at the arena. They're talking about Bruce Pearl being fired before the game. I think that's what's really what got us blown out, because on ESPN they're putting all these allegations. Oh, Bruce Pearl won't last the weekend, won't last this, woo. And all the players on the bus like, why y'all playing this? We didn't understand it, because it's like, why are we listening to this? You know what I'm saying? And then we get to the arena.
I'm going to interrupt you, because I remember all season long it had been, he's our coach, we're sticking with him, he's our coach. Yeah. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, but I believe it was Jimmy Himes doing an interview with Mike Hamilton, athletic director, and all of a sudden his stance changed slightly, and he just opened the door. He just said, we're going to review everything at the end of the season. And then boom,
wildfire.
Like said, I never thought about you guys on the bus driving. I've talked to some assistant coaches where they're like, we are always around the athletic department right after every single game. And they said, man, all of a sudden, like they were social distancing before social distancing was a thing, man. They're like, wait, why are they not hanging out with us?
It was a different vibe. All of a sudden, we get to the arena, we see Coach. We like, Coach, you good? Like, what's going on? You know, everybody like,
Coach, you good? And
we think
this is before the biggest game of y'all's career at that point.
The first game, mind you, like we you know, and we like, Coach, you good? And don't worry about it. They got my back. Well, you know, reassuring us. We like, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, we know what we just heard, and then now you tell us, okay, you know, warm-up lines was a little shaky, everybody not going as hard. I'm like, mind you, I'm a freshman that came off red shirt this year, so obviously I'm still like, I'm trying to, let's go. The guys just wasn't in it. None of, like, the older guys, I'm like, they must know something I don't, you know. And then we just played blah the whole game, and by halftime we were down 20, and I was in the game with damn near 10 minutes to go in the second half. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? And then we get in the locker room, it's a whole new world. You feel me? Coach had already been fired before the game over. You know, Coach came.
So y'all are in the locker room. Wait, y'all are in the locker room. Are people like throwing stuff? Are y'all checking phones? Or like was the word out?
You know how I go when players get in the locker room, when you know the jig is up and something is in the air. Everybody on their phone, you know, as soon as they come in the locker room, we seeing tweets, we hearing this, we hearing that, and then all of a sudden, you know, Coach come in and he let us know the news. We already knew that. We already knew you because we played like it. Obviously, if you already on the fringe, and then we put out that performance for you,
and it's almost like, and that's where we're gonna get off on a little bit of a tangent here, but. You guys if y'all find a way to make an Elite Eight Final Four run,
it's over with.
I don't know that news is breaking, because it's a lot, you know, and Bruce won every single year, but it's a lot easier to make that decision after a 30-point loss in an NCAA tournament, you know, like, but that nevertheless, that's wild though, because I've been in that type of locker room. We didn't have the social media and all that, but my sophomore year, like, Buzz Peterson, we knew if we didn't beat Kentucky, and that would have, you know, been we wouldn't have even gotten the tournament. It was just about having a respectable season.
Right.
But then with the coaching staff, you could see the emotions before the pregame, and it was almost kind of like, is this the last time we're going to be in the huddle together? You could kind of see that. Not the exact same, but I've lived it a little bit. So we'll go from March Sadness back to March Madness a little bit here. So the second time you play Michigan.
Yeah.
Under happier circumstances, and there was no there was drama around Coach Martin, but not the same type of drama. He had already squashed all the doubters and the naysayers, and there wasn't much they could say after you guys got to the Sweet 16. What do you remember about that Michigan game?
The Michigan game was really eye-opening for me. You know, obviously we get there, we're in the open arena. Fans for all 4 teams were already damn near seated. So we have all of this. And you know how the floor was like kind of in the middle with like so much space around it. And it was kind of like the arena style. And it was just, it was video game like. You know, we get there, everything from the moment we got off the bus, you know, we're getting interviews, we're going through certain kind of tunnels, and it was real. It was a lot for us, obviously, because this is the biggest stage that we've been on, you know. And so we get there, we're ready to play, we're ready to go, we scouted really well for them. I think what hindered me was I got in foul trouble super early in that game, and that really, you know, kind of slowed us down offensively because we struggled to score towards the second half. But then we got it going. Jordy really got it going for us. I mean, I think him and Josh were really doing their just due for that game. But during the last maybe like 5 minutes, we clamped Michigan up. They didn't score. I think we definitely out. I don't know the numbers, so I'm not gonna spit those out there. But we definitely outscored them. And in the last 2 minutes, they didn't score. I don't believe they scored a basket
because I think they had a. It was like, but it was 15-point lead or something like that.
We were down 13 with 2 minutes to go, and then we ended up being down 1 with 10 seconds on the clock. They didn't score. We sat down. But
had a good post look for Jarnell Stokes. I'm setting you up here.
So I think when we came out the huddle,
it's 72-71. Mm-hmm. I don't have that good memory. I looked it up earlier.
Yeah.
But 72-71, so down 1 with the ball after being down 15.
You know, so we had everything going for us. Come out the huddle. One thing leads to another. We got a charge called on the floor. I don't know if it's a charge, but you don't make that call in that play. That's a toughie. But here's what I always say. Everybody I have this conversation with, I don't believe this. But too many people say it to me. They say, you know, Tennessee in the Elite Eight ain't sexy. Michigan, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. It had to be a charge, but every time I watch it really infuriates me inside. You know, because you don't make that call. I think it's a no call, if anything.
You're a better man than me. I can't believe you watched it. For all the Tennessee fans, I mean, you weren't even paying attention. You're too young. But when we lost in the Sweet 16, now granted it was a different heartbreak. I shouldn't say different, but we were up 17 in the second half. And it's like, I'll never ever watch that. We did lose to a more talented team. We were playing above our heads a little bit. We lost to Greg Oden and Mike Conley. But you know, I give you a lot of credit.
Y'all up 17 and y'all dropped the ball?
Yes, man. At the time, I think it was the largest blown lead in like tournament history or something. Nowadays, like everybody comes back, and you know, Coach Pearl's style of play. Like we came back from 20 that year to beat Kevin Durant, but you could come back on us too because we were, you know, not live by 3, die by 3, but that run and gun. That's how we sort of overachieved. But yeah, I'm amazed that you can go back and watch those games, but because it'll get the blood flowing too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it provides a good foundation moving forward because obviously I could be in denial about a lot of things about that happened during that game. Oh, they shouldn't have did this, they shouldn't have. But we lost the game. Ain't no ifs, ands, we lost that game. And I think
close calls because you talk about for Tennessee fans, they think about the Ohio State game. They think about y'all's game where
the Ohio State game that hurts.
And then all right. So y'all's Michigan game they think about, or even when they did go Elite Eight under Coach Pearl as a 6 seed, mind you, down the stretch where Scotty Hobson splits a pair of Michigan State. These aren't all related to referee calls, but just within inches, man. And then Grant Williams' team, they go into a buzzsaw of Loyola Chicago and all the other heroics that happened. So, it's amazing with Tennessee's history that nobody's been able to bust through that Final Four. You guys were really you were as close as anybody. But what we have in common, though, it's not just the heartbreak of losing that game in the Sweet 16. It's seeing what the next opponent was. For us, it was Memphis, a team that we beat earlier in the season that we would have had a chance to go to the Final Four. For you guys, it was Kentucky. And you're like, That's all we had to do?
That's it. I mean, but the UK-Tennessee matchup in the Elite Eight would have been so lit. I think about that every day, like, wow, if we could. But like you said, the margin of error is just so small. It really is. And once you miss the opportunity, you can never get it back. And and that's why I go back and watch it, because you just see the things that happen in the sequence that it did, and you just like, wow, what if that's not a charge, and we're able to get it on the rim and we're able to see what happens. Not saying that we score right there, but I'm saying we're able to get a shot up on the rim and we see what happens. And it just gives the mind so many different avenues to travel down.
To have the empty possession's tough. But I tell you one thing, I mean, all you guys played so well. One of the most memorable runs Tennessee fans have ever seen. But you and I talked, I don't know if we were already recording this or not, but Josh Richardson, he wasn't quite Josh Richardson yet, but in that March Madness, he took
I'll tell you when he became Josh Richardson.
Man.
So the play-in game in Iowa, right? Yeah. I want to say it's the second half he became Josh Richardson. He was just Richie early on.
Yeah.
Just Richie.
Because describe for people, like, this guy came in like skinny jeans before they were cool, glasses. Like, he was just the dorky, athletic young kid that was like the 3-star or whatever he was.
Yeah, Josh took a while. He was more of a project to build up. But I think, like I said, I took it upon myself to be, because obviously, like I said, I wasn't the same player physically. So I had to take it upon, because me and Coach Martin, we had a different kind of relationship.
For folks that don't realize the knee injuries you had and the offseason surgery and all those things,
Yeah. So I had about like 3 or 4 surgeries in my career that obviously set me back. But so with the surgeries comes, introspection, right? Obviously, I got more time to sit at home, think about things. And so I'm figuring, like, how I'm going to be more impactful if I can't impact with my play like I normally would. And so it got me thinking, more mental. I was intentionally, as like coaching them do, intentionally build people up. I was doing the same, just in a different lane. Obviously, I got more access to the players. I got more trust, because obviously you trust your coaches, but obviously
when you're on the court, there's a closer opportunity to have those quick pick you up moments, as opposed to run to the sideline waiting for a pat on the back. Yeah, I mean, you were the dad of the team.
Right. So me being able to do that, or me being able to realize that at the moment earlier, prior to that year, because it didn't start that year, Josh became Josh. Over summers, working out with him, building him up. It's all him, mind you. It's none of me. It's none of the coaches. It's all him, because he took it upon himself to put the work in and take heed to advice. That's what made Josh Josh. And so we move forward to the Iowa game. Second half, we obviously, it's a tight game. We're struggling. We need somebody else to step up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were missing that element. I think Josh rattled off probably like 10 straight points, all mid-range jumpers. And that's what he does. Once he caught fire, he had a baseline dunk. I think it was on somebody. I can't remember the number it was on, but I remember it so vividly because I was right there and I caught chills when I seen him do it because he was so high. I saw him dunk that ball. Granted, I get very aggressive and physical when other players, score or dunk because I'm so happy. I'm innately happy for you, bro. I feel good scoring that point. You feel me? And so when he did that, I kind of hit him with two, like, how you hit him like, what is it? Is it EKG? You get it in.
Yeah.
I hit him with two of those, and then I felt his energy, and then so that second half, we just it was a different, because I think Iowa was kind of on top of us the whole game. We just couldn't get over that hump because we were down. Jordy wasn't making shots. Tone was struggling. Me and Jarnell, obviously we're bored and we're doing what we can do, but we're not impacting the game how we normally would. And then towards the end of the game, Josh really got us over that hump to win the Iowa game because no one else really showed out. Granted, I had an N1 late in the second in the overtime that kind of sealed it, but it was really all Josh that pushed us over that hump in the play-in game. And we showed our gratitude once we got in the locker room for him because it really was it was a team effort, of course, but that's the game he became Josh Richardson to me.
I couldn't agree more. You know it much better than I do, and I remember following that season was when the SEC Network started, and that was my first year on there, and they were like having you predict breakout players. And I remember saying Josh's name, but nobody else had really been paying attention. I was wrong.
He was on the Tyndall then,
I was like,
wasn't he?
I'm telling you, I'm riding with Josh Richardson, man.
Yeah.
And he was great under Donnie Tyndall. He learned how to play point guard. They didn't have a lot of success, but man,
I'll tell you what, Dane. I'll tell you what. Donnie Tyndall is what made Josh a pro. And this is just from my
forcing him to play the point. Jordan McRae getting to play some point under Konzo, that showed scouts they can play the 2 or the 1. I agree.
Because previous before that, Josh was like on the wing, never really handled the ball. He never really came off ball screens. He was just catch and shoot slasher guy, you know. And I think Donnie Tyndall saw something in him because, granted, I think they didn't have the roster that he wanted, but obviously he saw enough to say, Josh, you're gonna be my man with the ball. I'm gonna put it in your hands. And he gave Josh that freedom and that courage to be himself. And Josh found himself throughout that season. You see Josh's confidence. You know, he's always a great defender. That was always his staple. Even because he played with Armani Moore that same year. Yeah. Both of them guys kind of elevated their game of play. Even their styles was a little different dynamic than they were under Coach Martin. And I think Donnie Tyndall is what essentially got Josh to the pros.
I'll make it a little bit present day here. So you had a hell of a career, one of the greatest rebounders Tennessee's had. You exploded on the scene, 32 points, 20 rebounds, which I still believe is the only 30-20 game the Maui Invitational's ever seen, and a loss against Memphis. A ton of great individual games, team awards, Sweet 16 runs, all this stuff we talked about. But being banged up, because I start to think about this right now too, as if I was a senior. If you're a John Fulkerson right now, or any senior out there, this is I shouldn't have just said Fulkerson's name, but it's just a general conversation. Every senior, we're doing it because of Tennessee. But if you're not an NBA draft prospect right now, but you've been there for a while, and you being a red shirt and you transferred, is it time to say, man, as much as I love this place, it's time for me to pass the baton, or do you come back for one more?
I think if I have the option to play another year, I would. I'm speaking from me. You know what I'm saying? An individual who comes from obviously surgeries, and you know, I would stay. Me personally, I would stay because if I can add more value and supersede what I did this previous year, because I would only say if I felt like I needed to do more, if I didn't do enough in my time. And I think for me, granted, I really only played about two years on the court.
Right.
And so obviously I feel a way about, you know, guys who leave eligibility out there on the line and they don't take advantage of it, because college basketball is such a blessing that a lot of kids don't get to experience. And, you know, being surrounded with a fan base like Ball Nation, that kind of love you don't really see elsewhere if you decide to move on to the pros or whatever the case may be. You don't get that again. So I think,
man, I couldn't agree more. And this is, I don't care whether you go to the NBA or overseas, and you've experienced life overseas too, like I have on a much smaller scale of a team. But like, man, if you got the opportunity and there's something worth chasing for as you come back to a Tennessee, wherever, because they've got a good recruiting class, they got all these things where like there's a lot to still accomplish.
Potential there.
But if it's not the NBA, then man, I got to take advantage of that extra year. I mean, that's what the NCAA gave it to everybody, because, you know, once you're overseas and you're sitting there and it's just not ever going to be the same family atmosphere again. It's never going to be that way. And if you got a chance to do one more, and that's not telling John Fulkerson what to do, everybody's situation is a little bit different. You're one of your mentors and who you've coached with, Konzo Martin. I've had conversations with him, and he's you know, been open with the media talking about, hey, every single one of my seniors is welcome back. They're welcome back. But if they're coming back just to ball and nothing else, that's one thing. But if they're coming back because they're trying to accomplish this and get their degree, and this is going to help them work towards X goal, but there might be a couple guys that, hey, man, you had a great run. You got your degree. Go get your job, man. Get started on the next chapter in your life. So there's going to be some really unique conversations out there for a lot of coaches.
Most definitely. But what I say is, you can't beat experience, you know? And I think even if you are going to come back, and let's say you have your degree and you have the option to come back, I would say if you are intent on building something within this program or within a program that you've been a part of, I would say go back and do it wholeheartedly, because you take so much the schooling aspect out of it, and you can just really become a student of the game. Granted, we tell kids, you're a student athlete, but there's also so many things that comes along with being a student athlete that kind of takes away from, one's true potential.
And can you imagine, though, 10 to 15 years down the road, or you're like you and me on an older scale, like for me to look back and say, man, I passed up on getting one more year doing that. I couldn't. I mean, you got to think about in the future too. Like, all right, will I regret not doing this? I think there's going to be more people that would say, instead of me getting a head start on life in the corporate world or overseas, let me make sure I don't regret 10 years from now that I didn't give it one more run at my
you're at your institution of choice, mind you.
Yeah.
And then you're around people who you've already formed healthy relationships and bonds with, right? And so more than likely, someone that at least knows someone in the field that you will eventually want to go into. You can come back, build those relationships, and still build your career as a student athlete, And so I will speak directly to John. John, if you have the option to, me personally, I would recommend that you come back, just because you have all the things and the tools around and the resources around you to be successful after ball. You have Coach Barnes, who's highly connected. You have connections to a prestigious school who has a lot of alumni in a lot of different industries who are highly connected. And you're a player who's loved and adored here. And so I would say continue to build your resume in Tennessee. You're from here, And so what's one more year of impacting Vol Nation, the University of Tennessee, at the highest level? What's one more year?
And people want him back. That's a key too. You've been around. There's going to be some seniors out there that acted like asses. That coaches are going to be like, look, I know you got one more year of eligibility, and guess what else they gave? Yeah, guess what else they gave people? A free pass to transfer without sitting out. So go get your extra year with so-and-so.
Right. Peace out. That's what they're going to do. And that's not a good feeling, because when you've been at a university and you want to stay, I bet those guys that want to stay but were assholes, the feeling that you get when you're unwanted is not a feeling that you ever want to experience, because it sucks. You can't do anything about it but accept it, but when you're wanted and you're valued, I think you have to take heed to that and kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah, I agree, man. Well, this was awesome. Give me, I think we probably covered it with the Sweet 16, but from an individual perspective, anything outside that Memphis game that stands out as the number one moment for Jeronne Maymon at Tennessee?
I think –
because that wasn't a loss, so that does sour it a little bit, not because of you.
Yeah. I think that my standout moment was, and granted, I'm a man of experience, so you can't never put a value on experience for me. What I would say is my freshman year, what made me fall in love with Vol Nation, because granted, this is the time I'm not really playing. I'm a transfer kid. Guys, they still trying to fill me out, that whole deal. But when you walk around campus, granted, I don't know if times has changed. I know campus had a lot of construction going on, a whole lot of, changes on the strip and all that good stuff. But when you walking around campus and you're getting genuinely loved on, you're going through the tailgates and people know your face and they're pulling you in. You don't know these people from Adam, but they know you. And it's genuine love. It's genuine adoration. It's not someone who's, even if you may not be their favorite player, they're not, dumbing it down or trying to, make you feel inferior in any kind of way. It's all love. And I think that's the beautiful part about being around Tennessee and being a part of the University of Tennessee.
And you get treated, and it's important you stay grounded in it, because right now, under normal circumstances, if they said at the UT bookstore, Steph Curry was going to be there signing autographs and Jaden Springer, like in Knoxville, when you're in your prime as a player,
for sure,
I'm not sure that a guy like Jaden Springer's line isn't as long as Steph Curry. Like, people care so much about their balls there compared to the famous athletes. So it's a great town. It can be a tough one when you're losing, But man,
gotta have tough skin, man.
Yeah, it's fun when you're winning. At least they care. Jeronne, you're the best, man. Really appreciate everything. Congrats on leaving your mark and your legacy, the University of Tennessee. For everybody, make sure you subscribe. Big Vol'n podcast on the field of 68. Real quick, Jeronne, what's your prediction? Missouri basketball, Tennessee basketball, since you were part of Conzo's staff, where they end up in the NCAA tournament. How far do they get?
I think as far as the Missouri Tigers, I think they're going to go pretty far. They got a veteran team. They have a team who's been battle-tested. They've hit their stride on and off throughout the season. I think they're going to get back on track. I think they'll go pretty far. To put an estimate on it and say where they'll end up is kind of hard, but I love all them boys over at the University of Missouri. Spent 2 years with them, grew them up a lot, and so I'm proud to see what the impact that they're making right now. As far as Tennessee, man, I really hope that they can continue to put it together. I know they had a really good game against Florida. They put it together against those boys, and it's good to see those guys playing with some kind of heart for one another. You see the intensity that they showed throughout the game, because leading up to that game, we didn't see a lot of emotion from the players. And if they can play with that kind of emotion and intensity for one another, they have the pedigree and the talent to be in that Elite Eight for this year, you know? And so if they can continue to do what they know they can do and believe in themselves and one another, the sky's the limit for them as well.
And this is the man that's lived it as an 11 seed in the play-in game, moments away from an Elite Eight. Number 6 seed, Tennessee Vols, Scotty Hopson, those guys made it to the Elite Eight, so you never know this year's Tennessee team. Jeronne, thanks again, man. Be good.
Thanks for having me, Dane. Appreciate it, man.